Before we start today's podcast, I just wanted to give a general disclaimer. This is not therapy, and this is not a replacement for primary care. This is a podcast that has an interest in mental health awareness, and I'm also studying to be a therapist, but that is not what this is. So I hope you enjoy our program, and now let's tear into it. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. This is Tear Into It Podcast, episode 2. Have a very special guest today. Last time I did not introduce myself that much, so I'll just maybe dive into a little bit more. So Ilya Waterman, pronouns, he, they, figuring it out. I don't know yet. It's hard to decide.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many choices. And I don't know, the government's reducing my choices, so that's annoying.
Right, so you better act fast.
Yeah, no joke. Well, and what's crazy, sorry to segue, but if you're going for FAFSA, you have to choose a conventional thing. So if you have X as your option, which some states allow, you just don't have access to FAFSA.
Oh, that sucks.
That's messed up. Anyway, welcome our guest. I'll let them do their introduction.
Hello. My name is Bryce Morris. I use they, them pronouns. I'm so happy to be here today.
Thank you. And then, I don't know. I just love intersectionalities, which is kind of like looking at what makes us unique, like who we are. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to ask where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in the South. Go Dogs. And so I grew up right outside of Atlanta, but I was on the further side of that, where it was about 45 minutes to drive to Atlanta. So it was easily done, but it was a committed trip, because then that's 45 minutes back.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's and you got to drive all that way, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, grew up in the South, partly country, mostly suburban.
Okay.
To two parents who are both not from Georgia. They both moved there when they were in their 20s. And so my mom is from Illinois and my dad is from Louisiana.
Ooh, okay.
So I have a lot of very
good
different influences. Oh, let me tell you.
Yeah, a lot of good food. That's all I hear.
Especially the seafood.
Ooh, yeah.
Next
I love
level.
Me a po' boy sandwich. I know.
Etouffee is my thing. I grew up on it. Love it, especially with crawfish.
Ooh.
Stop playing.
Yeah. Great. And then, how long were you there in Atlanta, near Atlanta?
So I born and raised until literally I think it was 3 or 4 days after I turned 19.
And you were I have to get
and
out.
I was well, both of my parents moved away from where the state that they were born. I'm not gonna be the only one to not do it, so I gotta go.
Yeah, the pilgrimage.
Right.
Yeah, for anyone, that's a cornerstone. For people who live in Seattle too, if you're born and raised and you've never left, I think there's something wrong with you. No offense, that's all Seattleites, but you gotta leave because you can't appreciate it, and then you become
the world is too big to. At least in my mind, the world is too big to stay in one place, especially the place you were born and raised in. Okay, cool. Don't get me wrong. I loved where I grew up, loved the people and all that, but grass can be greener, bluer on the other side.
Yeah,
and it's
bluer. The truth, though. Yeah, that's crazy. And then, so in your gender journey or identity journey, are you? Where are you with that? Are you are you doing anything government wise, I guess, to change? You know what I mean? There are weird ways that there are expectations of how you should approach that. I've had a legal name change, for example. So I took it I did that. So it was just, I don't know if it was a gender thing, maybe, because I went with a more androgynous name. Some people are Ilya, that's a woman's name. And I'm no. Or I love it when people are Aaliyah, and I'm I wish. I wish.
Nice try.
I know. She has a lot more letters than me. I only have 4. But are you seeking a name change at any point, or is like, what's on your agenda for your identity? I'm just curious.
So no, definitely, I don't, at least at this time of point, don't see myself doing a name change, just because the name Bryce to me, it's at least, and it's like growing up too, it's like wasn't really that heard around really, and so I was like, it's not giving me like man, or it's not giving me necessarily like woman either. So it's like, okay, a little kind of, you'll probably assume, but I think it's fine. But as far as like the journey, like I literally started HRT about 3 months ago now. At this point.
Congratulations.
And so that's been kind of cool, just like finally getting through with therapy and like understanding why was I having some reservations, why would I get so upset when someone else asked me if I was trans or would I like transitioning. Because I got very like defensive, like mind your business, if that was what I was going to do, about it. Obviously lying for years. But it was just something that I didn't see it in or didn't want to see it in myself, due to like what I chalked it up to was safety.
Totally.
Because where I'm from, if I looked like me then, getting hit across the street. Yeah. And so it was very much like, oh, if I am outwardly trans looking, that just opens myself to violence.
You're a target. Yeah.
And that was what I had a big thing on, of like morphing that through therapy. And it's like, you know what, the biggest are winning if I'm not shining.
Amen.
And so I was like, you know what, I have to shine and mind my own business so they can mind theirs.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just interesting. I recently saw this clip where someone was putting an interesting voice. It's like a lot of like the expectations of masculinity in society have been placed on like kind of like preventing yourself from enjoying anything effeminate.
Right.
So they're like, their anger is like watching us succeed by breaking those like expectations. Like we can do our own thing and succeed, and that makes them mad.
Yeah, because they wish they could, but they're just set that to be a man means this, and it's just rigid. There is no
emotions. There's no like healthy outlets. Like
everything's also, it's like what like the media says a man should be through like movies and TV shows, where it starts off as hyper masculinity, and when it goes up from there, it's not even regular day-to-day masculinity.
Totally.
And that's like such a issue. I see it as an issue for like cis men who follow that path, because then they get mad when someone else doesn't. They're like, well, I have
like
to
adhere to their rules,
right? Like I'm following these set of rules. Why aren't you? And they get mad at us for not following the rules they put on themselves.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I totally identify with that journey. It's just different. But thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And then more. I'm just curious. So like, did you first go to Seattle when you left?
I did not.
Oh, where'd you go?
I went to Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And that was a whole thing. I went there with an ex, and I was like any excuse to kind of just get out of where I was from, type of a thing. And so was there for a good 9 months and said,
not for me.
If I wanted racism for people I don't know, I'm gonna go home. Because at least there, I know what it's like. But in Louisville, it was just different. Because, different states, different types of how they just display it. And, like, at least in Atlanta, it was very much just go ahead and say it. Yeah, your race is cool. And, like, I know that about you, so I move and operate knowing that.
Like, with that.
Right. Because then it's like, okay, cool. I know because they're very, like, upfront about it. Or if they are being subtle, it's like, we would call it, like, shady today, but at that time they didn't, like, especially like straight people, they can't be shady in like the fun way that we do it. But they'd be like these underhanded comments. They'd be like,
totally,
you're a racist. And so so I was in Kentucky, and it just wasn't right fit for me because I had bigger career and life aspirations than what living in Louisville would allow me to have.
Totally.
And I wanted more opportunity. I wanted to work in tech, and I wanted to, like, let's just go somewhere a little bit bluer, because I ended up going to a redder state with less black people in it. So I was like, oh, why did I take a downgrade? Sorry, Louisville.
Yeah,
It's true.
it's true. I mean, my mom's from there, so
Oops.
like I no. She was raised in Washington, but she was born in Kentucky,
Gotcha.
so she has like the accent, but then she was like raised in like a very progressive place. I mean, but she was in the middle of nowhere, so it's like it's still the same. Like Washington can still be pretty red, like out any like
Right,
2
outside
mile.
of.
Yeah, we're in a bubble. A very gay bubble, but like, or a queer bubble, but it's just like anywhere outside is crazy because I grew up like near the base of Mount Rainier, so I'm used to that kind of bigotry just existing because that's just part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's usually like living in the city, like even the suburbs, like as the farther you get away from a city, the redder it gets. And it's just like a thing everywhere.
Yeah. Jeez. And then, so I'm just curious, maybe, are you comfortable talking about your work? Because, like,
Absolutely.
I love what you do. So, yeah.
So I am a human resources information systems specialist, and what that really kind of means is I'm doing a lot of like the HR tech. So I'm HR's IT. I'm running reports. I'm working on our tools that we use as a company. I'm running like any kind of governmental reporting or making sure that we're adhering at a system level to rules and regulations, as well as enabling my team and or other managers and supervisors to do their jobs more efficiently. And it's something that I just really love doing since leaving Amazon. It's like process improvement. They taught me well with that, and I take it and I've been running with it. And I just really enjoy doing that kind of work because I get to help people without being so people facing. Even though, as I say that with HR, people come to me every day. It's just like it's a little bit different because my job by definition is more behind a screen.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I can do my job without having to interact with people. Is nice, but it just like fits that kind of the word where you're like kind of closed in. I can't think of it now, but.
Well, and it's interesting because you're in human resources, so you're kind of like upholding ethics. Is that kind of part of it, or is that a like, am I a misunderstanding?
So, ethics as far as the companies, sure,
Yeah,
but and little tip for some of y'all out there, HR is for the company.
Oh, that's good to know.
So think about that. Like they are there to help you. Don't get me wrong. Like if you're having an issue, seek help, talk to them. They'll have the resources. But at the end of the day, they're paying me, not you.
Totally. So you're also trying to protect the company, I assume, from things. Oh, I learned something.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
From like lawsuits or things, or just like, like we have to make sure that we're buttoned up so that we stay.
Yeah.
Within compliance, and that's like part of it, right?
Totally.
That's helping the company not get fined, not break rules and regulations, making sure that we're just doing everything on the up and up, so that the job is better and it's not crazy. Because if you didn't have HR, managers would just be doing whatever they wanted, and
yeah,
that's the second part.
Yeah. And can we name drop like who you work for, or is that like no go?
I am going to say no.
Cool. That's fine. I'm just like, so something we did was for my final project, the Waterman method, I was allowed to like hold a little like 2 little things at your workplace, which was really fun.
Yeah.
It was just doing like an art experiential with some of the people you work with, and it was like such an honor to like, and it's like such a nice space. So I'm just like, I totally understand. We're not going to name drop, but it was nice.
Yeah. The beep. No.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, totally. Other than that, yeah, work. Let's see what other intersectionalities. I don't know. Is there anything you feel like you need to speak on for people to like understand where you're coming from, like as a person?
Let's see. So at least looking at me as the person.
Yeah.
I'm divorced. I did not graduate from college, and so I did go, but never finished that last mile. And so that gives me a lot of, I guess, flavor, context to a lot of things. And I've lived I would probably say like interesting / different. Like everybody's life is different, right?
Totally.
But I think if you were to put my life on like a chart, it's like, oh, you're doing different things that not normally people like who come from where I come from are able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like the opportunities I've able to manifest for myself have been things that you wouldn't have necessarily thought of. Like with me being able to work at Amazon, I started out my very first like big person job was working at a gas station and did not like like more power to all of y'all out there because that is not for the weak because I was not trying to be selling like tobacco was really hard for me, not on like a moral or anything, like I don't care about that, but it was just like having to learn all the different things and people were just shouting these like codes at me like, oh, give me a pack of this. I'm just like,
very specific
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they get mad at me for that.
Yeah.
And then also the area was a little sketchier than what my family would have liked.
Totally.
Getting pressure from them like, we'll pay your rent, do something else. I'm like, okay.
So they even knew.
Yeah,
they were like, this is not.
They didn't like what I was doing or where I was doing, but I was in college at the time. I was like, I got to get some kind of money, and that was the Bryce that was looking at Craigslist, the everything to like where can I get a job or some money, and so
that's so inspiring. Like I love that it's like not that it's like overcoming adversity, but like it's like an unconventional path towards like. I think you're killing it right now. So like I've always been impressed. When you told me what you did, I was like, wait, what? Because like, when you find out people's jobs, you're usually like, I don't know. Because I've worked in the service industry for a long time. So like I'm used to people just being like, oh, I work at like a pizza place, which is fine. Right. I am not here to judge people. It's more just like, I feel like in a lot of Seattle, we're broken up into like, you're either a tech person, you're a service worker, or you're like a delivery person. Like those are like the main
especially nowadays too.
I know it's getting tighter. So it's just interesting, but I love that for you.
Yeah,
is there like, I don't know, is there advice you'd give people who like are like, I don't know, seeking university / like how did you overcome like the barrier of education? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So the thing that I would say, so my path after the gas station was I started working at Toys R Us as a seasonal employee, but I actually was able to finagle my way into being a seasonal HR associate type thing. So I just helped out the HR person that worked at the Toys R Us.
Yes.
And that's where I got my first taste. So that really helped me with like, look for those opportunities and try and make more of the situation than what they're letting you. Ooh. Because what I ended up doing was I did like my job, but I also started doing some of their job. And they're like, oh, well, now I can't work without you. You got to stay past the season.
Yeah.
Because they were actually able to like have a little bit of a work-life balance. They were able to actually like get their things done that was required. Plus, I had good metrics, so that helped too.
Yeah, right. And then making yourself indispensable.
Right.
Like unfortunately, we have to play the game.
You have to play the game.
That's part of capitalism.
Look, you don't have to agree with it, but you gotta play.
Yeah.
So if I gotta play, I'm at least be good at it.
And look good while doing it.
Yeah, no,
yes. And then okay, perfect. I'm just so curious. What else should we like? A mental health journey. Like, where are you with that? I think we'll talk more like during our little exercise. But like, are you seeing a therapist now?
I sure am every week.
Nice.
Something that I've started therapy maybe like probably it's like 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
And I didn't really put the real foot forward. It was kind of like, just to say that I like at least make the attempt, but I wasn't like really ready there for myself to really dig into that because I was going through a lot at the time, which would say that you need a therapist, but I just couldn't get it together.
Yeah. No, it's a lot to coordinate.
Yeah, and so.
And like if you've never done it before, it's kind of a big leap. So it can be really scary. So I get that.
Yeah. And so after trying that, I was like, you know what? I got a lot going on. And now I know that therapy is the thing for me to like figure it out and stuff.
Yep. It gives you like a nice venue.
Yeah.
Instead of like yelling at your friends.
Have a like a different
My method.
perspective.
Yeah. My method was just yelling at strangers for a while before I sought actual therapy. And then I was like, oh, maybe this isn't good. I think it was after CHOP or like COVID and CHOP kind of happened at the same time. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just losing my mind. I remember the first time I went back to a bar, I was like embarrassingly like yelling out every unfiltered thought that I had to people. And people would look at me like I'm crazy. And I'd be like, oh.
Social skills took a nosedive. I know mine did.
Yeah.
Just because like just being in the house the whole time, you just like lose some of that like, oh.
Did you work through it?
Yeah.
With the same company or a different one?
I was at Amazon at the time.
Okay.
So it was very easy just to work from home.
Yeah. No, it was nice. Edwin, my partner, he is also a techie. So he he was kind of set up through COVID. And then I did Starbucks work. So I was considered a frontline worker, which I think is bananas. But, I guess service workers needed coffee. So I get it. No, and we gave them free coffee. It was cool. Like firefighters coming in for their free coffees. I'd be like, this is cute.
Yeah.
This is cute.
That's like a nice little effort.
Yeah. I would so love to trash talk Starbucks on what they did to me. But like, that is for another time. Like maybe not here. That's for my therapist.
There you go.
Yeah. Because they gave me an exit package. So thank you, district manager. Don't even remember her name, but she hooked me up at the end after there was like multiple layers of getting messed up through the company. Because I was trying to do the thing where you get your bachelor's degree through them. And then they were kind of like, we're never going to give you the amount of hours. And I was like, great.
Oh,
what is this even for? Yeah,
right.
No, I've heard it from other people that it's like a similar occurrence. Anyway, we'll see you in a second. Welcome back. We're and we're gonna start the body scan exercise, which you're familiar with.
Yes.
They participated in my initial research project. Thank you so much, by the way.
Of course.
And then, so we're just going to start with our meditation. So we're going to close our eyes, place our feet on the floor. Deep breath. We're going to envision a bright light starting at the crown of our head, slowly moving down our skull into our neck, slowly through our shoulders, into our elbows, through to our hands and our fingertips, back up into our shoulders, through our chest, down and through our stomachs and to our hips, through our femurs into our knees, down into our feet, into our toes. If you'd like to picture yourself rooting into the earth, please do. Whenever you're ready, please feel free to open your eyes and return to us. Perfect. We're going to do our first body scan. Good spot?
Great spot.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and then we can, if we're comfortable, here's a canvas.
Thank you.
And then if you want to grab the the paint supplies, and you can set this wherever. And then yeah, if we're comfortable talking about kind of like our mental wellness journey, whatever you're willing to share, I'd love to hear. And then, I can also, share what I have too. So feel free. Yeah. You said you just recently started therapy like 3 years ago?
No, I started therapy like I'm not even a year in yet.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so it was been like I think it was like probably like April. No, it was March. I remember because I did my second session on my first trip meeting my partner. Well, not meeting them, hanging out with them since us being together.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, wait, this is my second time crying at the session.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Okay. And then, so what did, like, I mean, I'm just curious because I want to talk, I love and want to find out people's, like, coping mechanisms. So, like, before that, like, I don't know, what was wellness like to you before you were in, like, a structured therapy sessions?
Yeah, it was a lot of just like really like self-care, but I'm gonna say like it wasn't really self-care. It was really self-avoidance. Because I was doing a lot of things to kind of like avoid what was going on, to avoid kind of feeling my real feelings. And so a lot of that kind of manifested in, we'll say, negative attributes that I've since, obviously corrected and not doing anymore. But it was definitely a point in time where I was like, I keep doing all these things and it's not giving me what I want, but I keep doing it. So like something's got to change.
Yeah.
And like, why am I feeling this way? So I started doing that. So once I started doing therapy, I really got a handle on like, I never say that I wasn't in control of my emotions, but it was very much kind of like, I couldn't regulate them very well. So if I was upset, I wouldn't know why I was upset for a long time. And then I had to like think about, oh, well, why am I mad? Why am I upset? And that was really kind of like a turning point. So it's like, okay, I always keep telling everybody else to go to the therapist. I should do it too. It's not do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah. The general advice is like, oh, I should follow maybe my own advice.
Yeah, and it's like it serves everybody I give it to so well. Maybe I should take a page. I'm very, very, very glad that I did, because I realized that there was like a lot of stuff that I hadn't processed since my childhood.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like one of my friends even told me lately, they're like, oh, you've never told me about yourself. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't really talk about my past that much. And like, cause a lot of it is traumatic. Some of it is just like no longer like relevant, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I totally identify. Like, I don't know, just going through my own therapy journey, you definitely have to work through your own stuff just to, like, even go through school. Like, all the theories that they put you through, you have to put on yourself first. And I was like, for the longest time, I was like, I will never work with children. Like, I'm pretty sure I hate children. And then I was like, oh, I just had, like, a really traumatic childhood. Not necessarily of like fault of others. It was just like I didn't understand that I could communicate the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like, I don't know, there was a point where like I had suffered like some abuse and I went to someone like within my family network and kind of like told them, and I was gaslit to being like, that didn't happen to you. So it
That's
just
very
like,
unfortunate.
I mean, it sucks because the rest of my family, when I told them, they were like, what? Like horrified. But like I, as a child, was like immediately like, oh, I can't trust anyone. You know what I mean? Like it just sets you up to be like, I tried to tell like the one person I trusted and they like told me it didn't happen. So it was just like,
yeah, that's very formative, and like Nicholas associating like just being gaslit that early on that important of a thing too. It's just like
it just messes you up.
I understand.
Yeah, totally. And then I really appreciate your frankness about saying that you were kind of like doing unhealthy coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
kind of like when you were outside of therapy. Same. Like when I was like, oh yeah, getting blasted high every day to just not feel what's going on around me. That was like half of my. So I used to be in the fashion industry, and I just like wasn't morally. I wasn't in alignment with like my moral values. I was like working in factories where I like had to definitely like correct like poor workers who like who knows their status, but it was just like an abusive work environment. You know what I mean? So it was just me trying to be like, I need to like cope with these feelings. But thankfully, like, I don't know, I removed myself from that. So I feel like it doesn't have any like lingering effects, but it does kind of catapult me towards what I want to be doing, which is like working in healthcare, accessibility, mental wellness. So I think it informed a lot of my later things, but it was just interesting. That's part of the journey,
Yeah, especially like because I also have ADHD as well, and so
When were you diagnosed?
like I was like probably like 6th grade at first.
Whoa.
So I was one of those kids that got like I was prescribed Ritalin for those that know. That was mine, and then I had apparently so it was 2 factors that got me off of the medication. One was I grew out of it, and then the other was that my parents didn't like how it made me not eat because they could judge like how I'm doing and like my actual health
By your appetite.
through my appetite. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, you got your favorite thing at this restaurant, and you're not eating it. Something's up."
Totally. But like you're definitely have that, right?
I'm sorry.
You like have ADHD.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
It's like one of those things where it's like I could see it in other people, and I was like, "Oh, we're so similar in that way." Ha 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 ha. Oh wait, that means something.
Yeah. Like I definitely understand your point of view. Oh, is it because I am?
Right.
Yeah.
And so then I got diagnosed when I started going to my psychiatrist.
Okay.
And she was like, part of the like not curriculum, like requirements, I guess, of being assessed as an adult is that did you have it as a child?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, I was on this and that. I was like, okay, so you probably have it. And then she asked me some other questions about like my behaviors and like things. I was like, oh wait, no, that is very ADHD.
Yeah.
To like
It's too on the nose at this point.
It was like, are you sure you weren't in the commercial for it? Like,
Yeah. You're like the poster child of it,
right?
At that point. Oh gosh.
And so I realized that some of my like as I've gotten older too, like some of my coping mechanisms was me trying to cope my ADHD as well as my depression. And a lot of it was very, again, avoidant. And so doing anything to not be thinking about it, having these negative attributes that I'm performing, and it's just like, maybe I just got tired of feeling bad after it too, but didn't know like, how can I change how I feel about this, and as well as change the behaviors that I'm doing?
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately led me to therapy, and then also wanting to go through my gender journey, because I just knew like something's up with my, because like I also like talking about like body dysmorphia. I really thought that body dysmorphia was like what it's like on TV, right? You look in the mirror and you're on the verge of crying.
Yeah.
You were just having like a terrible time every time someone says anything about your gender. So I was like, I'm not feeling that like disconnected and just disjointed about it, so I don't have it. Is how I like thought about it.
Totally.
But then as I'm going to the therapist and talking about like the things that I'm doing and stuff, she was like, no, that's first of all, that's not the definition of gender dysphoria. And then 1, you have it. And then 2, you realize you've been doing things to like fix that, right? Like, do you realize that you're doing that? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like you getting your eyebrows done, getting your nails done, doing the laser hair removal are all very gender affirming things. And I was like, oh, you know what? I never even looked at it like that.
Totally. You were just taking care of yourself.
Right.
But like
not knowing
it's like
why
same.
was I so attracted to this?
Yeah.
But just doing it because I was like, oh, I like nails. And it's just a Bryce thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that was kind of a really good journey going through that and just figuring out like, oh, okay, if that's not what that means, then let's look at this whole thing, because like my whole like paradigm was just off of what I thought or what I was like expecting to feel like.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Sorry,
wow. No, I was blown away. But thank you so much for your vulnerability. I just, it's not that I have questions, but it's like, yeah, it just falls down to like, are there, and you're seeing the same therapist, I assume.
Yeah. So I've been seeing my same therapist the entire time because I wanted that like continuity with a therapist, just because like I don't want to have to keep reintroducing myself to someone or have to keep like re-explaining, oh, this is why I have this relationship with my dad, and it's like having to go through all of that over and over again.
No joke.
So I was like, let me just like stick with someone. And so I've had the same psychiatrist and their therapist.
Oh, nice. No, that's a good duo to keep around.
Right.
So, and they're different people.
Correct.
Yeah, as they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. So in my own journey, speaking of that, where it's like you have to talk about like a lot of past stuff. One of my biggest things finding out is like going to a therapist. I don't need to like trauma dump the first.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it kind of has to be played strategically, because like only I feel like now I'm much more aware of like I only need to bring up super crazy weird traumas if it's relevant to what I'm currently facing.
Right.
Because otherwise it gets dug up too much. Like to the point where I'm like, I'm past that. Like, yeah, that was super traumatic, but that was like part of my life and I'm over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there were moments where I would like, the first time I saw a therapist, for example, I was like, I have XYZ wrong with me. And he would be like, so before we leave, I have to make sure you're okay. And like, we have to really talk about this because that's a lot. And I would be like, I'm over it. like, I'm just telling you so that you know when weird stuff starts happening and it's relevant, like that I don't have to do it then.
Right. Like, let's go get this conversation out the way.
Yes.
At the beginning. Yes. Thank you.
Really early.
Appreciate the support, but now let's move on.
Move on. But they would be like, I think you might be a danger to yourself and others. Just because it was like, I don't know, I was just dropping a lot of like my trauma just to be like, yeah, these things I all went through. And it was just, I don't know. I'm learning now, like, especially with my therapist who I love that I have now, like I'll bring things up if they suddenly become relevant. Like if I'm like, oh, hey, I'm having issues with my dad again. And like, this is my relationship with him. And this is like where things went awry. And it was like very based on like boundaries. But like, I don't know. I'm getting... I feel like the further you are away from your parents, I don't know, depending on your relationship with them, but I can like, I don't know, appreciate them more just for like what they did for me. Like, even though I had some moments in my life where I was like, that didn't really help me. Like technically in the moment, what you said didn't help me, but like their actions were always like with best interest in mind, which is like cool. But it took me a long time to get there. Yeah. Like, and it had to come from other people, because other people would be like, well, what did your parents do for you? And then I'd list out the things and they'd be like, actually, your parents are awesome.
Yeah.
And like, they'll meet them and they'll be like, your parents are so cool. And I'm like, right.
Because you don't get that same experience that I got of them. Like,
totally.
You're getting the finished product.
Yes. Because my parents had kids young too. So I'm just like, they were kids, you know, they'd never got that. I'm like in my 30s acting a fool. And I was in like, when I was there, when they were my age, they had like 4 kids running around.
Yeah. I couldn't do it because I'm older than both my parents were when they had me. Yeah. And I was like, I cannot even fathom having a like 5-year-old
I have a dog and I don't want any more. One and done. I have a husky.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a
whole thing in of itself.
Whole thing. Like 3 miles at least. Do not get a husky. If you think you want a husky, you don't. Unless you're like a frequent runner. And that's like every day.
Oh, see, that's too much for me. I need I call them medium dogs because I want them to be like, I want it to be little enough for me to like pick it up. Like, if we gotta go, come on. But also big enough to like give me a little weight when we're like cuddling in bed.
Yeah.
And it's like, come here, you. Mm.
I would love a Pekingese.
Oh, cute.
Like kind of like pugs, but like with more hair. Nightmare.
Yeah, my partner wants a Shiba, and I was like, I've heard there's so much work, but like they've had them before, so that gives me a little bit more faith.
Totally.
Of like, okay, you can handle all of that.
Yeah.
But I also like, I definitely want me a cat as well.
It is a cat. So
really?
like if you want a bit of both, that a Shiba is a good choice for a little bit of both.
I already told them we're gonna have minimum of 2 pets. I will have my cat, and we'll have our dog. And
you have a cat?
No,
not yet.
No,
when I dream family.
Literally the day I move out of my current spot, the next day I will have a cat.
Well, I can't wait to meet your baby.
Yeah, because me too.
Yeah. Are you gonna do the whole route where you're like, I need a kitten and I want to watch its whole life, or are you gonna like? I had a friend who used to like foster cats that were dying.
Mm-hmm.
Like her whole thing was like, I'm gonna give cats a good last few years, and I was like, that's horrifying. No, to me, I was like, that's trauma. Like you're just setting yourself up to be sad in a year every time. But like, what a saintly thing to do. But like, I'm not like that.
Yeah, I haven't decided because my first cats that I had, we got them as kittens, and then I got 2 more cats after that, and they were like grown. And I got them from a coworker who was trying to rehome them.
Okay.
So I don't know how it would go. I would imagine I'd probably go the route of either like a rehoming type situation, like, hey, my cat, for whatever reason, I gotta rehome them or whatever. Other than that, I probably would just get a kitten just to be like, hey, me and you, like this.
Yeah, we're fam. Yeah, in the club. So embarrassing. Sabrina's gonna come for me one day. And then, did we want to share our art a little bit? If you want to say anything, do you want to go first?
Absolutely.
Yes, guest.
Alrighty. So this is my masterpiece that I was able to draw. I am not an artist. That is not my God-given talent. But what I was trying to represent here is with the crown. So something about me too is that like I'm big into like maybe like I guess like the concept, maybe not even a concept, but like the revisioning of royalty.
Ooh, yes.
And so something I've always wanted to do was create a coat of arms for myself because my family doesn't have one, obviously. But kind of like that thing, kind of cool. It's like, this is us. This is our emblem of our family, of our characteristics or whatever. Yes. So drawing the crown because I am my own queen. And during this gender journey and things, it's like, I have to be the one that champions me. I have to be the one that's saying, here's how things are going to go.
Amen.
Because if it's not me, it's someone else, and you can't really live your life that way, living to someone else's ideals, someone else's standards, especially in today's world. So that's kind of crown. It's just like I'm my owner. I'm my owner of my own space and stuff. And then the circle is again like that embodiment of like the me. And then I have a person in the middle, which is literally my body, because a lot of things I'm doing are very much me taking control of my body, of the way that I want to present to the world. And then probably can't see them, the yellow mosquito bites are something about me with my gender journey, is that one thing that I like always would like hyper focus on was my chest. And so when I would like work out, I would like work out for like a bit, and then I would stop working out because I'd be getting very cut in my chest, and it made me look very like masculine and manly. And so that was one of the things that led me, like, it was another thing that led me into therapy was like, hey, every time I look in the mirror, I wish my chest was like more breast-like. And so that was something that I had to like figure out. And this was like, why is that the like association?
Totally.
And so that was like a big thing that I had to like figure out. It's like, oh, okay, I definitely know I want breasts, and so it's like, how do I get on that journey and things of like that? I know that's going to make me feel better about myself, because when I've like, because like I've worn like dresses and like other like shapewear things that really emphasize my chest. I'm like, oh, I'm killing it.
You're feeling it. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your art. I don't want to like comment on your art, but like I do have questions about that later that we'll dive into. Perfect. And then, so I did this. I created like, so I self-identify as like a plant. So anytime I kind of do like self-reflective work, I always do kind of like a plant appearance. So when we were digging in, I felt some things. So it was just like going through. So I had a recent death in the family that was also like part of some of the early trauma, but it was just it's just so interesting, like different phases of our lives, and like I don't know, like overcoming or slash being the better person. I hate that, but at the same time, like it serves yourself so well to do those things.
Right.
Like how petty, like, you know what I mean? Like some people you choose to live their whole lives in like a petty mindset, which is like, you know, a place, like I'm not here to judge, but like I've spent too much of my own in that headspace. Like growing up, I was really angry. I was like the most angry person. And now what's hilarious is like nowadays people are like, Ilya, you're like one of the most positive people I've ever met. And I'm like, it took.
Right. There was a journey to get here.
We needed to retill that whole field to get to the point where I'm like now like a calm little flower who's like happy to be here. And like, just going over some of the ways that I used to think, it was just like, it was a defense mechanism. Because like I know you know this experience, but when you live in an aggressive environment, especially as a child, I would come up with like 3 insults for every person around me.
Oh,
like
let me tell you.
You know what I mean, though? Because you would be ready.
Know what you're
you would be
about.
attacked for no reason. And then, so I created like a whole space where I would be like, I'm going to be ready. I'm ready for every single person who rolls up. And then I changed it. So I had to really actively change my thought process to be like, now I think of 3 compliments. Like, so I know. Changes. It changed my whole life. Like I was like, oh my God, everything is sunshine and daisies. Because like,
love that.
It just changes your whole outlook. And now I'm not angry at people for no reason. Because before it was like, you know, I was finding reasons to be angry. And now I'm like finding reasons to like have hope, be kind. Especially in this time, we need to like alter our thought patterns is like a lot of what's affecting society, I think, is like, it's not affecting you.
Right.
Like you should be an ally to those who definitely align with like are being targeted. Like they go for like the most vulnerable in our populations, and then soon they'll come for you.
Right. If it's me today, it's you tomorrow.
Yep, no joke. And like it's just so crazy. So maybe we should do you want to, so we can tear into it whenever you want. Okay. But like I'm kind of in the mood to tear it up.
Oh. Because I remember you said you had questions, so I was like,
oh, I do, but like we can do that as our like wind up or wind down. I mean, so I'm just gonna tear this and maybe do it near the mic. It was so satisfying to hear last time. So, I love that.
Ooh, I look so weak right now.
Yeah. As it goes.
Look, I have nails.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I forgive you. I'm just kidding. Oh,
again.
get away from
There we go.
Yes.
You have to tear on the seams or something.
Yeah, I know it's too much.
There's an art to that.
Yeah, right. And then we'll do our second body scan, just since we're fresh in the feels. So we're gonna resume that practice. So we're just gonna take a moment to shut our eyes and take a few deep breaths. And we'll start at the crown of our head, imagining a light slowly going through our skull, down through our neck, into our shoulders, through to our elbows, into our hands and our fingertips, back up into the spine, slowly down through to our chest and our stomachs, down to our hips, through our femurs, our knees, down into our feet and our toes. If you'd like to imagine yourself rooting into the earth, please do. And whenever you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. And we'll do our second art body scan. Perfect. And then I think we're going to do the same thing where we're going to autograph it. So I'd like to write your name at the bottom. And then what's I say? February 4th, 2/4. I can't. And I wrote a 2. 2/4/25. Perfect. And then we'll do the same thing where we shared pictures onto the front. I think that's the easiest for us. And then we'll be right back. Perfect. Welcome back. How'd that feel? So I know you did this kind of art modality multiple times. Mm-hmm. You attended the one that was at your workplace, and you also helped out with my initial project. So how'd it feel?
Good. It's definitely something that, like, especially when, like, the first time that I did it, I was like, oh, I didn't know you could, like, associate these things together. And, like, I've always been of the mind that, like, I'm not good at, like, drawing, and I can color in the lines like a champion, but a straight line can't do it. And so it's like I've always kind of stayed away from those artistic pursuits in that manner. Mm-hmm. And so just doing it with this is like, oh, okay. It's not about how good it is or how bad it is. It's just about you're just expressing a feeling, which I think took a lot of, like, the weight off of it.
Right.
And that I think was really nice, and just, like, feeling better and being able to just kind of, like, feel the feel. Mm-hmm. And being able to, like, see, like, okay, but before it's a little this way, but then after doing it, I was like, oh, I generally feel a little bit better, a little clear mind.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to just do, like, a mindful exercise. You know what I mean? Like, take a moment. Thank you. And then I'm so curious. So you brought this up during the art exercise, but, like, so you're considering surgery.
Yes.
Might get the breastises.
Yes.
Ooh. Do you know what kind of cup size you want?
I'm thinking, so, like, kind of. So I'm thinking, like, probably like a B, C cup.
Okay.
Because I want to look kind of, like, natural and proportional.
Yeah.
But not like my back is going to be hurting.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, are we going Amanda Lepore?
Oh, gosh.
You know what I mean? Like,
look, they're sick, but they are not for me.
Yeah. No, because it's a whole commitment. There's, like, a lot of there's a lot to go with it.
You know, like downtime. Then like have to like start like investing in different clothing, or I guess like more clothing at this point. Like
whole
bras
wardrobe.
is a whole thing, and like I'm getting away with not wearing bras now because but it's just like that's a whole nother. That's like that next level, and then it'll also really because like I'm still as I am now today, am still perceived as a man when people look at me and talk to me. And so it's still one of those things where it's like that would further feminize my body without me being a full like woman, because that's not what I identify as. But it's definitely on the femme scale, especially because like look, the nails, they're so cute.
Yes.
And then but yeah, so that's what I'm just like going through with all of that. Really.
I love that.
And like being under the trans flag was also a whole thing for me to get around too.
Totally. Just to like, yeah, like where you fall, like when you go to like events. Because I feel like sometimes the flags are great for representation, but sometimes it can be like a little too much. Like, I don't know, if you just see the rainbow flag, you're like, oh, gay people only, which is like great, but it can be really disheartening. So I love kind of like the new design where it has like the triangle of like, it has like the trans flag, also the bear colors, and then the brown black, which give us you know,
just a bit more inclusivity. Like, hey, we're all in this together.
We really are.
And so yeah, I think that's just like a really important thing. So like I actually, with everything going on, I decided to like get my nails colored, and I got them colored the trans flag, and so that was kind of like my inspiration for that, because I was like, you know what, fuck them.
How often do you go to get your nails?
It's part of my like self-care regimen as well. So I usually do probably about every 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending upon like, you know, the new growth and like, okay, when can I get to the salon to get it done, because I can't do this myself.
Yeah, totally.
I've tried it a few times. Nail girlies, y'all got it.
Yeah.
I cannot. I have tried.
It's a skill set.
And like I could maybe do it on someone else.
Yeah.
But doing it on myself,
that's a whole
with
thing.
this left hand, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it's a whole thing. I couldn't either. So I feel that. Yeah. I feel like if I had long nails, I'd just be doing this all the time. Yes, that. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I should be diagnosed as, but like I definitely get stimming. Like for me, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it just tickles the brain in the right way.
Yes. Or like, and like I always have the habit of like doing the raptor hands where I'm just like, all the time. I don't know what that is, but like, if people want to say it's mental illness, I guess it is.
Look, cough. Cough.
Yeah. Who knows? I haven't been caught yet is the joke. Especially since I'm like in school to be a therapist. It's like, a psychiatrist just hasn't nailed me down yet. So I'm kind of honestly, I don't want to say I'm scared, but like, it's interesting. I have a different perspective about like, I don't know, medications. I think definitely if you need them, you should definitely have access to them. I just also like studying this, I understand some parts of it are like very grounded in like the mega like pharmaceutical big pharma, which is she's scary because she just want to give you a band-aid that costs money.
Yep,
like a lot of money.
They don't want to treat you. They want to make you feel just good enough so you'll keep buying more products.
Yeah,
but they don't want to actually fix the issue.
Yeah, well, because it's incentive to like keep coming back.
It's the capitalism of it all.
Yeah. We could get into holism eventually when it holism.
I was going to ask what that meant because
holistic, but like holism is technically the term, but like it does sound raunchy, doesn't it?
I mean, I was like, ooh, what kind of podcast are we on now?
Yeah. Where are we getting into next?
Tear into it after dark.
Yeah. Ooh, that's the next talk show after this.
There you go. Copyright it.
Yeah. Holism. God help us. Perfect. And then, is there anything anything you'd like to shout out about? Because are you doing projects, or is there like, if you want your Instagram posted, we can do that for you?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. If you want, follow me on Instagram. I'm not the most active. However, I do plan on changing that to give it, a little bit more engagement and things. So, if you want to be around for the journey, see where the journey's got me thus far, because there's some great looks in there. And then as well as trying to think if I have any other pluggables. I don't. So you should take care of yourself.
Amen. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, Bryce.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, perfect. And hopefully we'll have you back in the future. I think reoccurring will definitely be like one of the things we do, just because like it's like us checking in.
Yeah.
Like during this crazy ass times. So I'm really grateful to have you in my immediate sphere. We've like only started hanging out like half a year ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Like more consistent.
Right.
It's been much more since the Drag Race.
Yeah.
Watch parties, to be honest.
But nothing brings community better together than watching Drag Race on TV.
No joke. It's so much better than sports. Sorry for sports fans out there, but
I'm not sorry.
We're not sorry. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming in to tear into it. We didn't use our catchphrase, but like I think that's okay. Have a wonderful day, everybody.